Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Salema Rice with Accenture, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Heidi Lanford, Chief Data Officer, and Paul Taylor, the Chief Executive Officer at Fitch Group. Heidi Lanford is the Chief Data Officer at Fitch and one of the top 3 credit rating agencies globally and part of the Hearst Corporation. She reports to Fitch's CEO, Paul Taylor, and has been building out this new Chief Data Office for the past year. Let's listen to hear Heidi and Paul discuss how data as a product is a key success factor for Fitch's growth and how they're building the right team for this function and why adoption and understanding across the organization is paramount. It is truly rare to hear such a dialogue across the C-suite. Paul, let's start with you. Would you introduce yourself for us?
Morning. I'm Paul Taylor, Chief Executive Officer of Fitch Group.
And Heidi?
And I'm the CDO. I joined Fitch in late 2020 and initially came in reporting to the COO. And now I'm reporting to Paul. I was previously with Red Hat and joined, financial services as my sort of first foray into this industry.
Great to hear. And thanks for being here today. Paul, let's get started with you. Let's set the stage briefly for our listeners about the Fitch Group in general. Like, what is a credit rating agency and what are ratings and who are your customers and why is this industry so important and so interesting now?
So Fitch Group is a combination of companies. Our origination was in credit ratings, so that was our initial business. That's still our core business. But over the years, we've expanded into other information and data-driven products, all of which are focused around the fixed income or the financial markets, and in particular, the fixed income part of financial markets, and then in particular, focus on credit. So we're very much an analytical firm that requires underlying information data sets to do what we do. Most of what we do is to create information and opinions for financial market professionals. So our customers tend to be financial institutions, the big banks, insurance companies, pension funds, and then issuers of debt who are industrial companies, but could also include sovereigns, public finance entities, and other areas of fixed income like securitization, for example.
Fascinating. Heidi, given that you're new to this industry, what do you find most fascinating about it, and especially from a data perspective?
So, this, like you mentioned, this was a new industry for me when I joined a couple years ago. And one of the fascinating things is just the challenge of learning a new subject area of data. But I would say what's most interesting and honestly what attracted me to this role is that data is it's the raw material, it's the ingredients to all of the products and services and opinions that Fitch is producing. And so because it's such a core part of the business and data is a core part of that, that's the challenge. And it's also the piece that's most interesting to me. The pace of how financial markets are changing and evolving, and honestly, the breadth of what Fitch is covering is it's fascinating. And that's part of the exciting part and the challenge for me.
Very cool. Paul, do you remember the first time the Chief Data Officer role was discussed among the C-suite? Was there any particular moment or event or even a trigger that caused the role to be elevated to the C-suite's attention? Were there any pain points, emerging opportunities regarding data and its usage at that time?
Yeah, I don't think there was any one particular moment where we suddenly thought, oh my goodness, we better get a CDO. I think it was something that evolved over time. Fitch has grown a lot over the last 10 or 15 years. So we're now an organization, we operate globally. We have 4,700 colleagues around the world. So things were getting much more complicated as we got bigger. And because we'd grown fast, quite often your support infrastructure doesn't keep pace with the growth in the business. But also, and actually probably more importantly, it was how do we take advantage of all this information and data we have and we're collecting so that we can go to market in a sophisticated way and provide customers with better solutions.
Excellent. Often the chief data officer role is not well understood, and it's even often viewed as kind of just an IT thing, right? It's quite progressive to see Fitch having this first chief data officer role as a member of the C-suite. That personally touches me. So, how was Fitch positioning or even envisioning this role initially? Was there any confusion about it, or how did that shift over time? And what role did you play, Paul, in kind of the evolution of that?
It would not be honest of me to say that we completely understood what we were doing from day one. We had an absolute crystal clear plan. We sort of knew what we were trying to do and what the concept was. And as with anything we do at Fitch, if we're going to try something, we're going to try it to the best of our abilities. So it was pretty clear early on that we needed a very senior person to come on board who had the specialist knowledge, had the skill set, and we can talk about this more later, but also had the communication skills to make it a success as we make the changes, and these are quite dramatic changes we're talking about, had the communication and interpersonal skills to actually lead that effort and build out the team within the organization. So you shouldn't underestimate how important the buy-in from the whole organization is. It's not just me sitting there saying we're going to do it, it's getting buy-in from the senior team and actually through the entire organization is a key part of the success.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I love hearing that. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Heidi and Paul, for joining me today. Listeners, you can go to visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. And thank you again for being here today. I appreciate you both and look forward to hearing more about your journey in the years ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.